Yeah, so you ready for this? This month in the making?
Mean Creek.
Yeah, I thought that might have been your response,
So, what is with you in
right?
traumas about killing kids?
Look, man,
A
my
rough
childhood.
teenage.
I did have a pretty rough, uh, high school life. Like on the surface, it wasn't really all that bad, but I was awkward and had really any friends. So I don't know, but I didn't watch these movies until I got to college. Um, No, that's not right. Elephant I watched in high school, and I thought it was deeper than it was. There's still aspects of it that I see merit in, but I think overall, no, it's not a good movie. Mean Creek, I think, is just heartbreaking, but I think it's well done. Maybe not. I think it goes back to what your main qualm with Elephant is that it felt like naturalistic, if you will. Like,
No. This one did not. This one actually felt very natural, not naturalistic. It didn't feel. I didn't feel like I was peeking in on reality. Let me give it a compliment real quick
okay, I would
before.
love for you to tear it apart.
The dialogue is spectacular. These characters are well written. They feel like people I knew growing up, people I went to school with. Uh, Real good props to the kid who played George.
Josh Peck.
Man,
Yeah, from
like,
Drake and Josh.
is that who that is?
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
Well, he was good. I like he didn't sugarcoat that part at all, and I felt as uncomfortable watching him as I feel around that person in real life. Like
Yeah.
that kind of like awkward. We want to be nice to you because we know it's not your fault. You don't understand the social cues that are going on.
Yep.
Anyway,
And then the whole thing punctuated at the end with like his it's not even a manifesto. It's just like there's things that go on in my head that no one knows about, but someday they will.
that was the worst. I was okay. So the dialogue is well written. The characters are well written. It's pretty well acted. I'd say pretty well.
Culkin, he's the least known of the
Of the Culkins.
three. Yeah.
Yeah, but pretty good. That said, I have no idea who wanted this to be a movie.
Yeah.
Who was like, I've got this idea for a movie. It's going to cost a lot of money, but it's worth it. And this was their idea. And then like they told friends, and those friends were like, yeah, you should make that movie. This guy has bad friends. Good friends would have told him not to make this movie. They would have been like, there's no story there. There's nothing to that. That is
Yeah.
so I read a while back that the Coen brothers don't start scripts with a plot in mind. I don't think that's entirely true, but instead they start with characters and just let those characters kind of interact in their minds and build out from there.
Okay.
To me, it felt like the writer was doing that, but also was like, these are boring characters, so they always make boring decisions.
I forgot to have a window. Sorry. Maybe
Nice
that
window.
helps.
It does. You're looking better already.
Perfect.
Um, like every part of this movie I looked at and went, why did they do that? Like, why did he decide this was worth filming? Does this add to the movie? And there were like two scenes in the whole movie that I was like, that added to what happened. So like the very first thing, you got this kid filming himself playing basketball, the Star Wars kid of basketball. Uh, like, I don't know why you're filming that, and I certainly don't know why you would show anyone that. But kudos on the confidence, at least. And
And
I
then
was
why does Sam, Rory Culkin, go
pick
and
up.
pick the kid's camera? Like, why would you do that?
Like, I don't think he knew that the camera was filming him. Like, that's all I could think of, because I had that same question. Like, dude, why'd you do that? Like, did you just grab that camera and run? Like, were you like, oh, free camera? Like, the only thing I could think of was that he didn't know that George was filming himself.
But they set it up to that, like, George is like attached to this camera. Like, he records everything.
He wants to be a
So
documentary filmmaker. It's
yeah. And they're like, clearly they have a history. So if you see the camera and you see him, I mean, I guess I would assume he's probably filming it. But even if not, I wouldn't go and say, "Ooh, camera for me." Like, I don't know. So, but that kind of kicks things off. That movement, that moment there, seals everybody's fate for the rest of their lives.
But it's so, like, does not have to be. Like, this is the least necessary plot to have ever existed. So after George decides, like, to beat up Sam, all the other kids are like, man, Sam, this George kid is the worst. And I'm like, is this like day one of George? Or they imply like he does this a lot, but like at no point do they get to know George. Are they like aware of his personality? And they're all surprised by even the basics of his personality a few days later.
He definitely seems like it's a single parent household. And mom doesn't really know how to deal with him, so she just kind of lets him be. So he acts out because he gets no discipline at home. But he seeks approval, which is why he wants Marty, the oldest of them, to be like, that's why he wants to be friends and buddy with him. And he does pick up on social cues that are negative. So he knows that Clyde, the kid with the two gay fathers, the gay fathers, he's kind of the butt of a lot of jokes. And so right away, George starts in on him. And he just uses bullying to try and secure a place in this group that he's been invited into.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, to Josh Peck's credit, like, he fluctuates from being completely unsympathetic to being heartbreaking, back to being completely unsympathetic, and then again to just like completely just like devastated.
Yeah, and it's like a switch where you're not like sure how he's going to react to any given stimulus, and there is genuine fear of him as a character. He reminds me a lot. You have to see 10 Cloverfield Lane. The character George is pretty much like there's a grown-up version in 10 Cloverfield Lane played by John Goodman.
Gotcha.
And I genuinely was like, give John Goodman an Oscar for this role. I know it's sci-fi, I know it's horror, but oh my God, John Goodman in 10 Cloverfield Lane, it's incredible.
Okay.
He plays that George type character where he's so distant from the social norms that you can't expect him to react in an appropriate way to any given stimulus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll have to take a look tonight, because it would have been interesting to see what he could have developed into, had the whole trip gone differently. Like, could he not swim? I guess that's why he asked where the life jackets were.
Yeah, I think that was there are some very weak attempts at subtlety in this movie.
Okay.
Like I'm not gonna lie, the director seems like he had ideas, but so much of this was like stock footage of a freaking oar in the water. I even said, I was like out loud, I was like, I can't take another shot of the oar going through the water. Because like they do it over and over again. Like you see the oar go through the water and they have a sort of conversation, like a half conversation. You see the oar going through the water. So they can show you that they're moving, but they didn't get any shots of them moving, just that one shot of the oar in the water.
Right.
Yes, they're still paddling, going down river. Oh my God.
Except George, he didn't paddle. He just shifted his weight the whole time.
Which, to me, that line was brilliant. Because I don't know if you, like, okay, so when I've encountered people of that type of social competence, I guess.
Ineptitude.
They have this idea of what's helping, how they can do things, and rather than putting energy into helping the way other people help, they put energy into justifying what they have done. And I see that a lot, and I think that's really, I thought it was a really cool kind of detail. He's like, I was shifting my weight the whole time because like in his mind, that was helping. That was like, he may have even seen it on like a documentary of like rowers will shift their weight from side to side in order to help speed it up. And he's like, oh, that's what I should be doing right now. And if they don't appreciate that, it's because they're not as smart. They don't know how professionals do it. Yeah. But I had to ask myself every few minutes, why is this a movie? Why is this, like, if you're trying to tell this story, you're trying to tell these characters, why do you buy a camera? Why don't you buy a typewriter? Why don't you, I mean, hell, even an audio drama, I think, would have been a good version of this. There could have been a great filmed version of this. I just don't think this was it.
When I was in middle school, 7th grade, actually, we, after our lunch period or whatever, one of our teachers would read an excerpt of a book. So I think we did 2 or 3 books over the course of the year, and one of them was a book called On My Honor.
Okay.
Have you heard of it?
Nope.
So On My Honor, 2 boys, and they go like bike riding or something on an adventure, and I can't remember what happens, but one of the kids ends up dying, like falls, and cannot remember. But that was like the entire story, is these 2 kids go on a bike journey, one of them dies, and then the other one has to come back and tell the mother that her son died. That was the entire story. And I don't know if it hit me in a particular way, because that's what I think of when I watch this movie, is like, that's the whole movie, is that the kid dies
and they have to go tell his mother,
and they have to go tell his mom.
Yeah,
that's the whole thing. And then it ends in such a weird, like, first of all, they're talking to Sam, video recording him. There's no parent, no lawyer, nothing.
Nope.
Which I believe is either illegal or highly unethical.
Definitely unethical.
And then they keep it recording, probably on purpose, when they leave, and he goes, I've never seen him more out of control in my life. I'm like, does that make it better or worse? Is it better that he was out of control, or is it worse that he was out of control?
But they're not talking about like what's his name? They're talking about his brother.
His brother, exactly. And they're trying to see if it's premeditated or not. Is it a crime of passion, or if it's premeditated murder?
But like, it straight up wasn't even a crime. Like, right. That's what kills me, is like, accidents happen, and it sucks that accidents happen. But like, just because someone dies doesn't make it murder.
Right.
And like, that's what I wanted to scream at these kids for like the 45 minutes that they're dealing with, is like, look, if you ran out to the road, you're like, our friend, he fell, he got hurt. People would be like, oh shit, I'm sorry about your friend. No one's going to be like, man, you killed him.
Yeah, but you're also an adult male with a brain that functions. These are kids. Like, I guarantee you, if I had been in this position, if I had thought that, oh, we're going to throw him in the water, take his clothes and make him run home naked, if that was what my whole intention of bringing him out there was, and purposely said, don't tell your mom, like, that's going to eat away at me. The guilt is going to gnaw at me. Even if I can somehow come to the realization that I'm not responsible, I'm still going to feel like I put him there and my actions have killed him.
It was just so frustrating, though, knowing that, like, they're all like, oh, we're going to go to jail. I'm like, you won't. You really, really won't. Like, the beer is probably the most, maybe the weed will get you a little bit longer of a sentence. I'm like, but even still, it's not going to be that bad.
That's in Oregon. So, well, no, this is 2007, so it wasn't legal yet, I don't think. No. Anyway.
But I was just like, oh, man, kids, stop. This moral conundrum is not nearly as confounding as you want it to be.
But they're kids, man.
So there was a moment early in the film where I was like, oh, the director's setting something up. And it's where, God, I cannot remember any of the kids' names.
There's Millie, Sam, Rocky, Marty, Clyde, George. That's all of them.
Which one's Rocky?
Rocky is Sam's brother.
Rocky is Sam's brother. So Marty is... Okay, so the scene is Marty is practicing shooting a gun.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, the scene had better be important. Because while, like, I'm sitting there watching it going, okay, I see what's going on here. I see the dynamic between these characters. He better take that gun on the boat. Because I really need this scene to matter. Or I'm going to be real mad. And later on, that scene turned out to not have mattered.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about, like everything that's established there, mom is sad, dad is dead. Does any of that dad being dead comes back. But did we need it established before that moment for it to be impactful later?
Because I think it shows the dynamic between Marty and Marty's brother, and it shows why he's the way he is. Because George and Marty are two sides of the same coin. They're fair. Very similar as characters go. And I think that it's very telling that they set up the scene where he's staring down the sights of the 38 special or whatever. He fires and completely misses. He misses the bottle. And his brother comes out and tells him, like, get over here. And he doesn't look like he's that much older, probably 2-3 years maybe.
Yeah.
And then he is able to disarm him. Marty, the badass of his group, grabs a bat, and you're like, oh shit. But he can't do anything to his own brother.
Right.
He is completely toothless.
I can see that they try to parallel that because Marty is also the bully of his group. What does he do to Rocky?
He's least, I guess, mean towards Rocky because he just doesn't take it.
Well, he punches him. That was it. He was like, I've got something for you. And he pulls his hand out and he punches him. And he torments Clyde.
Yeah.
I definitely had seen I see, he's a bully too, and thought that there was going to be some connection between them and not,
What was interesting about Clyde is how much he is kind of shit on. But, at the end, is that George Wendt? When I was watching it on my phone just because I watched most of it yesterday. And I'm looking, I'm like, it looks like George Wendt. That's not important.
I definitely didn't see George Wendt, but if he's in there,
I mean, it's not important, but it was just when he sits down to dinner with his dads.
Yeah.
And they're like, what's going on? You can see how much love is in that household.
Yeah.
And really the only household that doesn't have any love in it is going to be Marty's, because clearly George's mom loves him. That's why she's so distraught. She just doesn't know how to deal with him. Even Rocky and Sam's house, their father is in it at the end. It's like, oh yeah, they're all in the bedroom listening to music or whatever. He's not absent. He's there. So I don't know where I was going with that, but anyway.
So here's another place I wanted to see a parallel. Early on in the film, Millie and Sam are sitting in a tree. We later see them kissing, but after George dies, they're hanging out in the woods, and Millie is hiding kind of behind tree branches. And it almost felt like a callback to that conversation they had in a tree, which to me was I was like, oh, are they going to do something with this? Because she's, they're in a tree again. Because I thought it was weird early on in the movie to have filmed them in a tree.
Right.
So I was like, oh, now it comes back. Now we're getting to the part where there's some kind of symbolism but no. Other than maybe disillusion, where the first conversation was, about killing George. If you could snap your fingers and make him die, would you? And the second conversation is about them having actually done it. And I almost wanted that, the conversation that I was writing in my head, because I try to fix things that are broken in movies in my head. was a conversation of like, if you could unkill him, bring him back with a snap of your fingers, would you? I really wanted that conversation to happen. You're like, remember how this whole thing started is, would you kill him?
Right.
And now we have killed him. Do you regret that decision at this moment? Which I think would have been a great conversation, but they don't have that. They instead just kind of look at each other like, shit's fucked up. You know? Which, I mean, you know, kids having a real deep conversation probably would have been a mood killer. But to me, that would have been a really cool callback.
Yeah, but then I don't know. I think you're on two ends of the spectrum here, because you're talking about how frustrating it is that they're freaking out that they're going to go to jail and everything because they've killed George, but they haven't. It was an accident by your own word.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for them to have had that conversation, if that's what you wanted to happen, then you would have to accept that you understand that these kids have that mentality, that they are the ones that did this.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that was their mentality. It's just, it's the frustrating moment of like watching a horror movie and someone runs upstairs instead of going out the front door.
Sure.
Or like, you know, it's a horror movie and someone's like, there, we made it out, we're free, but we should go finish this with the killer. And you're like, no, go get the cops. You know,
or like a doctor or a lawyer watching a medical series or a courtroom drama and be like, no, that's clearly leading the witness. What are you doing? Or no, there should be an objection.
So when I was an EMT, the thing that bothered me most is when people in movies will shock someone who has no heartbeat, because that's completely worthless. Like if someone's like flatlining, that is not a shockable rhythm. You shocking some, that's just being an asshole if you're going to shock them. I mean, you're just like, man, fuck him, make him double dead, you know, like. And
they still do that in Grey's, I think. I unabashedly watch Grey's like a middle-aged housewife, but they still do that. Like, oh, they're coding, boom.
So the absolute worst one was, there's a movie called Life. It's a sci-fi movie in space with Ryan Reynolds.
Oh yeah, the prequel to Venom.
I buy it totally. So they're in space and they're going to shock someone who is flatlining, and they're also holding him down when they shock him.
Oh wow.
They've got their hands on him, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I get that you're awful at this, but man,
are they wearing rubber gloves?
And like that movie, like all around, like, because I know the space station, I'm a nerd and I study the ISS. I also know how they could solve every problem they encounter. They're like, oh, it's in this room, and I'm like, that's no problem. That's completely detachable. Like, like you just put that out with a little rope on it. You just drag it. You shoot. Push it towards the sun, you're fine. Mean Creek, when I see
you can't push George to the sun.
Can't push him into the sun. No. There was so much about it that was frustrating, and I really wanted to see all the parts of A come back to all the parts of B.
Sure. Because it very much could have been like a mirror.
Exactly. And I thought, like, I was like, okay, this is why it's boring. The director wanted to do this. And so all this boring stuff towards the beginning, we're going to see in reverse going off the other end. And that's going to make the first part brilliant. And that's not what we got. We got something that was plot-wise naturalistic. Now, the characters, not naturalistic. They are natural. They are brilliant. I love the characters. I love the actors. Everyone in this was top tier. But
Good.
the story was so boring. Like, it looked like I wanted to see, based on true events, all these people are real, here's their real things, because only reality is that dull. Like, if you're going to make up something, make up something.
Yeah.
I
mean, that definitely, I definitely echo that sentiment, that it very much, and I almost said this a couple of minutes ago, it very much felt like a based on true events kind of situation where, like, it would have shown, like, the newspaper clippings or whatever, or shown his actual video. Something like, although I don't think it's based on anything real, we have to talk about Kevin.
Yeah. I don't know that movie, but I know of it, and I know it.
Which I think is based on a true story, because I think it was a book that the mother wrote about the kid.
Yeah.
But it also has the Flash in it. What the hell is his name? I can't remember his name. Holy cow! He was in Perks of Being a Wallflower. He's very good.
I didn't watch Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Oh no!
So
Chbosky, he wrote it and made that film. It's so good.
My sister was such a huge fan of that book that it was irritating.
Oh.
Every part of it, and she got real excited about the movie, and I was just like, I just genuinely want to avoid any more Perks of Being a Wallflower. So I didn't read the book.
Talk about great characters. Yeah. Okay. Well, boo on you.
It's okay. I'll read John Green novels. They're the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this story could have been a book. This story could have been a short story. It could have been a short film.
Yeah.
And I would have been good with this being 45 minutes. But for it, it's almost exactly an hour and a half. And it just
feels like it.
Yeah, it can't fill an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about parallels with Marty and George, the water gun.
Yeah. The super soaker.
Fire, or whatever fire.
Yeah. And like how quickly he reverts to being an obnoxious bully when he gets pushed against the wall.
Yeah.
Like, they tell him, like, this is why we brought you out here, but we actually do like you, so we're sorry. And his response is, fuck all of you, you're you have gay dads, and oh yeah, your dad shot himself in the head, what blew his brains all over the and he kept repeating, and it's like, what is wrong with you? Like,
because he got stuck on it. He doesn't know, his brain doesn't know where to go from there. And it's really frustrating because, like, you want this kid to be redeemable.
yeah.
And you want to go, okay, he has a hard time making friends, but people manage to see past it into seeing the good person underneath. And some do, kind of, for like an hour.
Yeah. I mean, they feel bad that he's dead solely because they're the ones that did it.
Yeah.
They're the ones that snuffed out a life that may have been redeemable. But if he had died in like a car accident, or if he'd gotten sick or something,
they'd
have been like
cool with it.
They'd been like, well, no more George, right? Am I right? No more George. But yeah. Which is shitty to think about a child. Like, that is such an awful thing to think. But that is what the filmmaker and the writers did to that character.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, shoot, I had those feelings when I was a kid, thinking of people like, I'd never kill this guy, but man, if he died, that would be real convenient for me.
Yeah, like, bye-bye. I always had, like, I've always been like a bigger kid, and I got into a few fights when I was younger and was able to hold my own. But I always felt really bad about it because I always seemed to picture the person that I was angry with as like a kid, like as a child.
Yeah.
A kid that is innocent, that has loving parents. And I'm like, I can't punch this person. I can't harm this person. Without fail, every time. Like, I'd get a few blows in, then I'd be like, I can't keep doing this because this is somebody's kid. They're still a child. And even now, I think back to like even horrific people like Manson and Hitler. Like, man, what were they like as kids? Like, at what point did they become irredeemable?
Yeah.
And I think that would have been something that they could have explored. At what point did George become an irredeemable character? Or was he irredeemable? Was there a world in which he lives through that he learns from it and is like, maybe I should stop being such a complete bag of dicks to people?
Maybe. I honestly think that what they were going for with George was that he didn't understand that he was a bully.
Yeah.
He didn't see the difference between, I'm mad at you this minute, I'm friends with you the next, but it's okay because I average out kind of normal. I don't think he saw a difference.
When I saw this, I think it came out in 2007.
Yeah.
So I don't remember what made me want to see it. But I instantly, after watching it, I was like, if I ever somehow meet Josh Peck, I cannot forget to tell him, like, you are something, man. Yeah. So
he gave an incredible performance. You and I often talk about the difference between an impression and a performance.
yes.
He gave a performance and it was good. I think if he gave that performance on stage, that he would easily have won awards for that performance. It was good.
Yeah.
It's really good. And I think the camera appreciates it. Like, whenever he's on camera, he's very has a lot of movement. He has a lot of things that may not necessarily be very naturalistic, or, like, we wouldn't see them as being very natural, but he just kind of plods along and makes sure he's always moving. He's always alive whenever he's
Which
on
is very stage appropriate.
Yeah.
It comes back to, because obviously Josh Peck, well known for being a comedic actor, and we are constantly shown comedic actors that are incredible with dramatic performances.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that comes from, I never watched Drake and Josh, but from the clips I've seen, they're both very animated. It's very slapsticky kind of teenage humor. And I don't know if that kind of translates into this character with him always being energetic and moving. But I think it has served him well to have had that background. And I think I'd have to seek out some more roles of his and see if it translates.
Maybe, yeah.
The kid, Rocky, Trevor, I can't remember his last name. He started off in Disney movies. He was in Genius, the Disney Channel movie with Emmy Rossum.
Yeah.
But he was also in like Mystic River, I think.
Jurassic Park 3.
Was he in Jurassic Park 3?
Yeah.
Okay, so not all of his movies are good.
Look, he was good at Jurassic Park 3.
I mean, Bill Macy's in Jurassic Park 3, so...
Yeah, Bill Macy. That's right.
We're buddies, so of course...
So you can call him Bill.
So I call him Bill. Come on. William H. Come on, that's way too long of a name.
Oh, he's one of those actors that I absolutely love, but have a really hard time liking movies he does.
Really?
I think he's spectacular, and it's just when I see him in a movie, it tends to be a movie that I'm like, oh, do I have to watch that one?
Do you like P.T. Anderson movies?
Nope.
Yeah, I don't even know why I asked.
Dude,
Boogie Nights is so good. And Magnolia has warrants. Like it's watchable. It's not his best, but it's
like my brother's favorite movie. Is
Magnolia?
Yeah.
Boogie Nights is way better. I think There Will Be Blood is overrated. But
I think There Will Be Blood is very overrated. Yeah.
But Boogie Nights.
Don't get me wrong, Daniel Day-Lewis is incredible in it, but
sure. And he can drink my milkshake anytime he wants. Him and Paul Dano. Another underrated.
Yeah. I think he's very underrated.
We've talked about Paul Dano before, I think.
Swiss Army Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I talked about Taking Lives, which anyway.
So do you have more stories about kids murdering other kids? Is this the theme we're going for right now?
Well, see, talking about themes, and if we ever do get a large audience, they'll see we've tried themes, and it's the first one that we were going to do was different directors, like complete filmographies. And that started with Train to Busan, both of us thinking that it was
June
Boone.
Yeah.
It was his movie. And we're like, great, we'll start with that. Then we'll go into Parasite. And it's like, oh, wait, that's not his movie. Well, let's stick with it and just do this other guy's live action movie. And that was a horrible mistake.
That was not great. Psychokinesis.
Yeah. So I don't even know if we've got a theme. I don't know what made me think of Mean Creek. I really don't.
And the movies of Rory Culkin, that's going to be our theme.
He actually, his latest one is about like a Norwegian death metal band that was it's a fictional retelling of a story of the band or something like that.
I gotcha.
Where like the members died. I don't know. It looks intriguing enough to at least watch a trailer for. But I mean, I'm not into black metal or whatever, so not super intrigued. But no, like as of right now, Monos was the only other movie that I was thinking of at that time, but I saved that for
our other movie club.
Yeah.
Now, that said, you know what would have really, really brought Mean Creek up to the level of interesting? A Norwegian death metal band. Literally anywhere.
I don't even know how to imitate Norwegian. Like, what is death metal? Like, is it just like...
Death metal is usually more about rhythm than notes. Just think that.
Okay. Maybe I'll try and find this movie. I can't remember what it was called, but he's the lead in it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll look at
Ezra
the trailer.
Miller. Ezra Miller is the guy's name.
Okay.
And we have to talk about Kevin. I kept wanting to say Asher, and I knew that wasn't right. Ezra Miller. He is spectacular. Or they are spectacular, I think, is their chosen pronoun.
So what I really want to do occasionally is to discuss some of the hidden themes that I have discovered in movies. That's one of the reasons I was getting really excited about Mean Creek with the trees before, and is because I want to find those things in movies. And so I have found a compromise, a movie I have found lots of themes with, lots of hidden, subtle, brilliant themes, but also to make you happy, it's about violence against children. Because I know that's what you're into. You're welcome.
Disclaimer, since this is going on YouTube, that is not true.
It's just
not accurate.
You keep picking movies about that. It's not a Western. You'll be happy to know it is not a Western.
Thank Christ.
I want to pick and discuss Shazam.
I love Mark Strong.
Have you seen Shazam yet?
Twice.
I love this movie. It is so.
I also really like Grazer's nephew.
Oh, Dylan. Yeah, he's
the best part of the It movies.
He is. He's so good. Like that dude. I didn't realize it was the same dude as the It movies for a while, but I was like, that dude. Like his mouth is just like that kid from It. And then I looked it up. I'm like, oh, he's the same kid, just like 4 years apart, And
it's Brian Grazer's nephew.
I didn't realize that.
Producer.
But he's good. We're going to see him grow up just like we saw, Daniel Radcliffe. He's just never going to lose the spotlight.